Talk gets hacked, Tesla to update autopilot, and videos disappear from YouTube. Tech News Tonight is next.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Tonight, episode 452 for Friday, October 23rd, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Epson's new EcoTank printers. With Epson's line of SuperTank all-in-one printers, you can print thousands of documents without running out of ink. EcoTank is loaded and ready to print when you are. Visit epson.com/ecotank to find out more. Welcome, I am Megan Morrone. Let's get to the tech news. Earlier this week, YouTube announced their new paid subscription plan. For $10 a month, you'll get access to ad-free content, exclusive videos, and Google Play Music streaming services. What more could you want? Well, maybe you want ESPN. Maybe you won't get it. The sports network has not made an official announcement, but they did tell Tech Insider that they were not part of the YouTube Red service. Several sources are reporting that ESPN is pulling its videos off YouTube. Now, all the videos on the ESPN-owned Grantland website have been pulled and replaced with ESPN's proprietary player. On the YouTube Grantland channel, there is no content at all, just a note leading people back to the Grantland website. Today, British telecom giant TalkTalk admitted that on Wednesday, the company experienced a significant and sustained cyber attack affecting up to 4 million customers. They've also received a ransom note from the purported hackers. TalkTalk provides mobile phone, broadband internet, and pay television. And according to a statement on their website, all of their 4 million customers might have just had their names, addresses, dates of birth, email addresses, telephone numbers, credit card details, and bank details compromised. TalkTalk is notifying customers by email and letter on how to protect themselves and will offer credit monitoring. They've also notified banks to be on the lookout for suspicious activity. Last week, we told you that Tesla released their new autopilot feature in an automatic software update. It didn't take long for the terrifying autopilot fail videos to make it to YouTube, but really, that's all they are. Videos made to look terrifying in order to get more hits. But add that to the fact that Consumer Reports changed their recommended rating of the newest Tesla based on their most recent reliability survey. And it is fair to say that it has been a tough week for Tesla. But CEO Elon Musk, ever the optimist, tweeted this afternoon that Autopilot 1.01 was coming soon with curve speed adaptation, controller smoothness, better lane handling on poor roads, and improved fleet learning. For a long time, Tim Westergren's Pandora, founded in 2000, was the premier way to stream music, but shares of the company plunged at yesterday's announcement that the company had lost $86 million in the last quarter, partly due to their agreement to pay a $90 million settlement to record labels over its ability to play songs that were released before 1972. The fight hinged on songs that didn't fall under federal copyright laws, but instead were subject to different laws depending on the state. Pandora is also still waiting on a separate decision from a U.S. court on how much they'll pay record labels in the future. These two factors are causing many investors to lose faith in the music streaming service and to look to popular competitors like Spotify and Apple Music. A technical glitch is being blamed for the problems with the prepaid debit card system known as RushCard. Although the company has yet to release numbers, The Atlantic estimates that hundreds of thousands of RushCard customers experienced frozen accounts that led to the inability for users to pay for medications and food for almost a week. Although the technical problem seems to be fixed and RushCard is up and running, you might wonder why you hadn't heard of this story. I know I did. If Target, Chase, or Citibank went down, leaving people with no access to their money, you probably would have heard about it. The Atlantic argues that since RushCard users are primarily poor minorities, the story went largely uncovered, and the company was slow to fix the problem. RushCard was founded by Russell Simmons, co-founder of Def Jam Records. He says he designed the system to help the millions of Americans who are unable or unwilling to participate in the country's traditional banking system. Coming up, we'll talk to Alex Wilhelm from TechCrunch about his thoughts on Microsoft's new Surface Book. But first, this episode is brought to you by Epson. Epson's revolutionary EcoTank line of printers for home and office introduce a new age in printing. The new EcoTank ET4550 wireless all-in-one printer doesn't use ink cartridges. Instead, it features an innovative refillable ink tank. It comes with enough ink to print up to 8,500 pages. That's equivalent to about 50 ink cartridge sets. You're loaded and ready to print for up to 2 years. Powered by Epson's leading-edge precision core technology, it delivers high-speed, vivid colors, and laser-quality black text. Plus, auto two-sided printing, a 30-page auto document feeder, and easy wireless printing from tablets and smartphones. All EcoTank printers deliver an unbeatable combination of convenience and value with ultra-low-cost replacement ink bottles. Now you have the freedom to print without running out of ink. Visit Epson.com/EcoTank today to transform the way your home, office, or work group prints. For the best combination of ease and value, turn to the new Epson EcoTank printers. That's EPSON.com/EcoTank, and we thank Epson for their support. It's been a busy week of earnings reports, and nobody covers them better than Alex Wilhelm over at TechCrunch. If you're interested, you can read his work, but that is not what I have any interest in talking about today because it's Friday. Instead, I would like to talk about some of the new products Alex has been playing with, the Surface Pro 4 and the new Surface Book. Welcome, Alex.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Let's talk about the Surface Pro 4 first. You say Microsoft has built its best tablet to date. Talk a little bit about why you think that.
Well, with the Surface Pro 3, the iteration right before this device, they took their earlier model and really changed it up. It was thinner, lighter, different color, a much stronger experience. And the Pro 3 did very, very well. With the Pro 4, they took that earlier win and just made it better on every account. A better keyboard, a thinner design, a better screen. It's really just the Pro 3 on steroids in the best possible sense of that. So having used every Surface device since the RT back in the old days, it's fun to see the original idea and model really come to fruition.
So who do you think, who is this for? Who should buy the Surface Pro 4?
You know, I thought a lot about that because the Pro 3 was kind of aimed at, I wouldn't say on-the-go corporate people, but now the Surface Book does that very well as well. So I'm kind of curious where the niche will lie, but I think it's aimed at people that want to have a moderate to robust Windows experience, but also have a mostly tablet-centric environment. So a lot of presentations, for example, that sort of thing would probably be a pretty good fit. If you need more power, probably the Book's a better match, but the Pro 4 is really just a solid device all around. It's a really great way to experience and kind of enjoy Windows 10, if you will.
So yeah, we might as well bring up the Surface Book again. It's good to talk about them together. Like, it feels like they're cannibalizing each other. Do you feel that?
No, I think the price point keeps them separate. So the Surface Pro 4 starts at $899. The Book's $1,499. So there's a huge gap in price. So I don't think they'll compete that much. I mean, the Surface 3, for example, didn't really compete with the Pro 3 because they were off by about $400 in price. So I think they're pretty different. And the Pro 4 is really like, I want pen input. I want to be mobile. Maybe I'm an artist. And the Book is, I'm a corporate person. I work at a desk mostly, but also want to have a tablet. So there's, I think, enough light or daylight between the two of them to keep them separate. But probably some cannibalization is not that far off the mark, to your point.
So the Surface Book is getting some lukewarm reviews all around, including yours, which wasn't great. I mean, do you think that these are just kinks that are in the review versions and it's going to get better? All these things are going to be fixed that people are complaining about in the Surface Book?
Well, with the Surface Book, I mean, it's the first device that Microsoft has made that I use now as a daily driver. So at my desk at the office, I have a Surface Book hooked up to two 30-inch Apple displays, and I really like it. If you go back to the Surface RT, the very first Surface ever, it was a bold statement, but not a really amazing hardware package. And now with the Pro 4, finally, years later, it really has gotten a lot better. With the Book, they skipped a few early cycles of adolescence and built a device that is pretty capable. Now, again, it's still first gen, so there's stuff that we're going to change, but on the whole, I really do enjoy it, and I use it probably about 8 hours a day right now, and I've never been able to say that about any other device I've made. So I think it's a great first step.
So I'm always interested in how people test these things. I mean, because you said, you know, I always think of you as a Surface user because you review them so well. But then, you know, you say you always go back to your MacBook Air, which surprised me. And you said that for the battery testing, you had real life testing because you left the charger at home. How did the battery fare in the Surface Book?
So what happened was I was leaving the office and I was packing up, and I always grab the one laptop that I'm using, throw in the backpack, and leave. And I was using the Surface Book that entire week, and so I literally grabbed just one laptop, the Surface Book, and went home and didn't have the right charger at my house for it. So it was kind of a real-life battery test. But, I mean, it's testament to how much I like the Book that I made that mistake. I've never made that mistake with any other device before because they weren't my actual workhorse device that I would use in the office and at the house. So I think right now I'm probably a 2/3 Book, 1/3 MacBook Air, and that's my highest Microsoft ratio ever for any device I've had since I first moved to OS 10. So I think that implicitly shows the progress they've made on these devices. So I like it. I think it's a really cool device, you know?
Well, earlier this week, I talked to Charles Arthur from The Guardian. He made a good point. He said, you know, the demand for tablets is down and the demand for laptops is down. So why does everyone think that it's a good idea to make a laptop-tablet hybrid now?
Well, I mean, I think that's really predicated on Microsoft's larger choice with Windows 10. So if you use OS 10, for example, the Mac OS, you don't use iOS and OS 10 in the same device. They're distinct. Whereas Windows 10 is kind of one OS for the entire, panoply of different computing requirements. And so for them to build a device that does both touch and desktop is relatively fitting to the larger OS strategy. So I'm not that surprised. I mean, they've been talking about this as a solution since the early days of Windows 8 years and years ago. And I think finally now the hardware and software have caught up to that vision, but it's taken a lot of work. Megan, how often do you really use a tablet? Like day to day, is it like an hour, half an hour? Like what's your actual use case?
That's a good point, because I just got the 6S Plus, and it's huge, and I have been going much more to that than the iPad.
Right. But what I liked about the Surface Book, for example, is it is a robust laptop in terms of its specs and build. And then if I ever do want that tablet functionality, I can just literally unhook it and take the tablet with me, and off I go, which I would probably want to do 5-8 times a month. But I don't want to carry two devices just to allow myself to have that use case when it arrives and I actually really need it, or rises, sorry. So I think they may be arguing, or at least going for that middle market, and people that are in between a full desktop computer and a full tablet. I don't know how big that niche is. We'll have to see, but I think that's their overall vision.
So what about the Surface Book for gamers? I know they just announced they just added another Surface Book with a cheaper version with the NVIDIA graphics card. Do you think gamers will be the right people for the Surface Book?
It depends on what games you play. I mean, if you play League of Legends, for example, it probably has enough power. But if you want to play the joke as Crysis or Doom 3 back in the old days, then probably not, to be honest. I mean, you running 3 screens at once off the Surface Book through the dock lags a little bit, so it's probably not designed for the most high-end gaming. But if you just play things like, again, League of Legends, it'll probably be pretty much okay. But I mean, gamers are a really different use case. They build their own machines, they kit them out. I mean, they don't buy convertible laptops as gaming first devices. I think this is more aimed at executives with a large corporate budget on their IT side that can afford to buy a more expensive device, but really want to have both the Windows 10 experience and also they want to touch it. And I again, I don't know how big that group is, but that appears to be what it's kind of built for. So.
Well, Alex, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. As I said before, Alex has a great write-up of all of the earnings reports from tech companies this week. Alex is a writer at TechCrunch. He is at Alex on Twitter. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
As always, pleasure. See you guys.
Take care. And finally, I have this great idea for a costume that I came up with entirely from my own head. I didn't find it on Pinterest, and when I Googled it, I couldn't find it either. It requires a group, unfortunately, and nobody in my family, not my coworkers, none of my friends will do it with me, so I'm going to hand it over to you. First, here's how you do it. You make yourself an Apple Watch costume, pizza box, something like that. Then you carry instruments, and you're an Apple Watch band. Get it? Okay. Now go do it, and send me photos. And if you're anything like me, you spend a lot of time thinking about your Halloween costume and looking for a costume that no one else has. Google has a website for that. It's called Frightgeist. You can find it at frightgeist.withgoogle.com. It's like Zeitgeist, Google Zeitgeist. You might be familiar with that. They use Google searches to come up with Google Trends, and then the Google News Lab uses the data to determine the popularity of a particular costume in your area, as if Google were not scary enough. And that is it for this edition of Tech News Tonight. We are on YouTube and iTunes and Stitcher and everywhere else. You can also watch and subscribe at twit.tv/TN2. You can write to us at tn2@twit.tv. And you can watch live every weekday at 4 p.m. Pacific. And don't miss our morning news program, Tech News Today, every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. I'm Megan Morrone. Thanks for watching.
Bandwidth for Tech News Tonight is brought to you by CashFly.com.